Hi, Pastor Jared here with another book review, and this time a book called Gifts from the Heart. This is a hardback version of the book that I have. This is the current, as you can see, that's the current cover of the book. I actually read this all the way back when I was in community college and going to West Valley College in Saratoga, California. And I took this class. It was on interpersonal communication with Randy Fujishin. He was a teacher and he's the author of the book. And recently, I've been looking at different books, looking at different books about marriage counseling, and I was trying to find a good book to help couples as you're preparing for marriage. And I got done reading one book, and after I've read it, I was like, man, it just fell short of what a good book to help prepare couples for relationships, for communication. It just fell so far short of it. And I went back and I ran across Randy Fujishin book that I've always had. I loved it the first time I read it, but I had to read it again. And I said, it's been years. I mean, years since I read this book. And I was like, I wonder if it's as good as the first time I read it. So I just reread it again. And when I read it, it was yes. It was a great book on communications. And though the author, I'm actually going to pull this up. This is, let me, so, oops. Oh, nuts. I'm going to have to redo that intro. I don't know how. Somehow. Okay, start there. Go there. Alright. And okay. Alright. Pastor Jerry here, and today we're going to do a new book review. I know it's been a long time since I've done this. It isn't that I haven't been reading books. I just haven't had time to go around to it. I wanted to get back into it because I've read a couple books recently, and one of the books is this, Gifts from the Heart by Randy Fujishin. Now, this is the interesting thing. This is my copy, my current copy of the book. I actually had the original copy of the book that I got. That one I gave to someone who was struggling in their marriage, and he needed a book to help with communications, and so I gave that book to him. So I had to buy myself a new copy. I bought myself a hardback one, which of course is sometimes hard to buy, because it was a book that I would want to reuse. Now, recently, as I was preparing to do some premarital counseling, I was trying to find a good book to help couples as they prepare for marriage and help them with their communications and to help them during that first year of marriage because there's a lot to work through. And though I have some books that I really like, I wanted to see if I could find a real good one. And, I've had some books like The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. That's a great book, especially pushing back on the cultural understanding of marriage and versus the Christian view of marriage. Excellent. Another one is Sacred Marriage, and that's another by Gary Thomas. Another great book on marriage, and really is a good. I would say read it after your first year of marriage. Great book, but there was no book that quite dealt with communication. One of the keys I always tell people ask me, what are the keys of marriages? And the first thing I said, you need to have a God-centered marriage, which those other books do a great job with. The second thing I'll always say is communication. You have to be able to communicate and resolve conflicts. If you don't know how to do that, you're going to have problems in marriage. And though there are a lot of good Christian books, there aren't a lot of good Christian books that deal with communication, interpersonal relationships. And this book here does a great job. Now, the author, well, I want to show you something. So, as you can see, there's two covers here. The one on your right that says Gifts from the Heart, that was my original copy. One of the things you need to know is Randy Fujishin. I actually took this class all the way back when I was in community college. And I took it with this teacher, Randy Fujishin, who we'll look at a little later on. And I read it. It was very good. It was very excellent. And so I wanted to, like I said, I reread to see if I could find a good book for marriage, help people help with their communication. I reread this book. It's as good as it was when I first read it the first time at community college. It is just a great book on communication. And then since then, he's read a third version. It also takes into account some social media stuff, which is great. And so here's Bill's copy, and here's my hardbound version of, I think it's the second edition one. He has a third edition. At some point, I'll take a look at that one too. And this is a book. If you are looking, if you need a book that's going to help you with your communication, and help you to be a better person who's more loving, can act more loving in their communication, and be a better communicator and communicate effectively in your relationships, better interpersonal relationships. This book, I tell you the truth, this book will help you do that. Now, this book is not going to quote really any Bible verses. I think maybe have maybe one or two, but it's not. He's not. This is not a book that is a Christian book on communication. However, it is a Christian who wrote a book on communication, and to that you'll explain a little bit more as we look at the contents of the book. Excellent book. Read it. Read it. Read it. I can encourage it more. Um, so this is the author, Randy Fujishin, and he's originally from California, graduated from San Diego, and he later on became a Christian counselor. He was a counselor, marriage counselor, and he became a communication teacher, and now he just does some stuff on the side. Author, and here's some back information that he has on. If you go on Amazon, it tells you this, that Randy Fujishin is a college professor, author, conference speaker, and therapist. He's also a coach, business executives, and a pastor to increase their interpersonal communication, effectiveness, and impact. Most importantly, Randy is a loving husband, fun dad, and rides a BMW motorcycle. And actually, one of the things he has done is he has ridden his bike, of course, across the country. Fun backstory, because I had him as a teacher. I had him as a communication teacher. So I know him personally. He whenever he writes one of his books, he'll go off somewhere by himself, write the book, and come back. He likes riding his motorcycle. Not a fun story. He always says, like, if you ever have a pickup truck, get a pickup truck, put a bale of hay, and just drive, and then whenever you want to get out, sit on that bale of hay. And then one other thing, he always his calls his wife his bride, which I always love that. That his wife is always will be his bride. Uh, he is just a great guy, and he's spoken at Christian conferences. He is a great Christian guy that I loved, and it was because of Randy Fujishin and then one of his other colleagues, John Hannigan, that I originally thought, before I went to pastoral ministry, even before that was even a thought, I thought I was going to become a communications teacher in the junior college and be a Christian communication teacher and have a Christian influence in the Christian communication. God apparently had different direction for my life, but these guys, the Randy Fujishin, John Hannigan, and many other, they're Christians and their communication had great effect. And great guy. He's read some other books, but I'm just going to focus on this one right here. So this is a great book, great author, greatly recommend it. He also does surfing, motorcycling, all sorts of stuff. So gifts from the heart. Now I'm going to read you if you were to read the scripture in the book, this is what you will read. And you'll see that this book was written for a communication student classroom. And even though it's written for interpersonal communication class for a college classroom, the book is still a good book. You don't need a class to get the way. This is a good book. Even though he wrote it for students, it is written for everyone. So here it is. Gifts from the Heart is a friendly, concise, and easy to read book that will help students learn, practice, and improve 10 fundamental communication skills needed for any long-term relationship. And that is the main preference and goal of it. It is focused towards students, but it's really focused towards anyone. It is about helping you improve your communication skills. And if there's one skill that we all could use better, help is in communication. We don't communicate as effectively as we want. This book does a great job helping out with that. And it's actually the skill that most employers and most future spouses are looking for, someone who can communicate effectively, lovingly, understandingly. This book is all about that. To continually go on, it then says, each skill is presented as a gift for students to give to another rather than as a behavior to implement, empowering students to participate more fully in their relationship. And that's a great way to think about is you can use how you speak to your loved ones as a gift. Instead of just thinking as this is just a way we communicate and it's just about me telling people my thoughts and my feelings. It's more, try to start thinking of it, how you communicate is a gift that you give to them. And that how you talk is a way that you can show you love and care and understanding and respectful. Your words matter. And that's one thing the Bible often tells us. The book of Proverbs is filled with areas where it talks about how we use our words matter. The book of James talks about how our tongues are so powerful, it controls so much and can set things on fire. And so, yes, we need to see that our tongues can be a gift to other people. And then it goes on and says, with a conversational and student-friendly writing style, each chapter focuses on one skill, essential communication skill that can dramatically enhance students' connection with their romantic partner, family members, and friends. And it does. And in fact, in the end, it always has the questions at the end because it's written like first to help think through these. How could you use this to help your communication skills? So it's a very helpful book, and it is very readable. And finally, it then says the book uses simple language, memorable concept, practical exercises present the communication techniques that can be used by those hoping to improve their skills, relationship, and by all those who want to offer gifts to their lives. And that's one thing. Each chapter, like I said, let's see if I can. Each chapter always has like questions. Like let's see where right there it has areas where it has questions and things you can put in practice right away. And to make best use of it, don't just read it, but go ahead and do those exercises in the book, and that will help. Because the best way you want to get the content book and get better at your communication skill is to read each chapter and then try to put it in that practice. That day, after you read it, try to put that in practice that day. Don't read through the book too quickly. Take your time to read it, practice it, read it, practice it, read it, practice it. That's true for a lot of books, but definitely that's how this book is written. Lastly, it does says this third edition. The one I have is the second edition. I don't have the third edition, so it might be something I need to grab. The third edition of Gifts from the Heart includes new material on using digital technology to and strengthen interpersonal relationships while minimizing technology barriers to face-to-face interaction. That's great. It's a great thing to add because when when I first read it, the cell phones were just starting to be a thing. Now cell phones are everything, and digital communication is everything. Definitely we need to take that consideration as we talk about communication skills. And yeah, we can use the technology to help us communicate more effectively, but you also use those technologies to actually create barriers to communication. In fact, one thing that happens too much is was way too much people texting on their phone to communicate. I love talking to people in person. I love it when people stop in my office and we talk face to face. That is a best form of communication. And technology is a good way to keep touch with people, but I tell you what, there's danger when we put too much on technology, and so that's why you want to use your phone as a tool, not as a replacement for relationship. And just to get at it, so the chapters are giving a relationship, accepting yourself and others, and I know you like accept yourself. Uh, uh, there is to a certain degree as you be able to communicate with other people, interact. You have to some of this. It's not saying that you're perfect, and not like accepting yourself like, oh, I'm perfect, I'm a sinless person. It doesn't mean that, but there's some degree you have to accept you are who you are. Communication for connection, listening for understanding. Now, stop the phone, hold it there. That is one of the key things in any relationship is listening for understanding. It's something we struggle at doing. We really don't listen for understanding. We really struggle with that because we're so focused on what we're thinking and trying to get our thoughts across that we actually don't really listen to people until that is a great chapter. There's nothing more. And just like the second one, the very next one, asking questions. Couldn't ask for a more crucial thing. It's one of the things we're very bad at asking questions. And not only asking a question, but asking a question and then listen to the answer and then seeing that you understand what they're saying. We really could be better with our questions. And this great chapter on that, flowing with the conflict, and that's a great idea because, and he has a great acronym for that section about how to flow with conflict because you really do. You don't want. There's a couple ways you can deal with conflict. One is run away. That's not good. Another one is you treat conflict as something that you're butting head. But there's a way that you flow with conflict where you and your spouse are have a conflict, but you flow together to come to a resolution together. Great situation. Forgiving others. There's no better important thing than forgiving when there's something as people we don't want to do because we're prideful, because we think we know best. But if we're going to have relationships with people, we gotta learn how to forgive others, enlarging others. A lot of times, especially in our society, we tear people down, and it's not to say there isn't room for areas where we should do correction, but a lot of times we just tear people down to tear them down. So we really need to help enlarge and encourage people, um, showing you care and encouraging growth. And that's something we also need to do is encourage people to grow. We don't want people to just stay out of the yard, but we want to help people to become their fullest potential. So those are the chapters. I would highly recommend the book. It's as good as I enjoyed Me and Marriage. I love Sacred Marriage. I think those are great books on marriage. The other book I would recommend, if you get married, if you need to improve in your communication skills, if you've already been married for a while, if you need help with just communication with your children, whatever, this book, Gifts from the Heart, will help you do that. If you want, get the hardback one because I'm sure. I mean, I'm thinking you probably could get away with reading it once a year, and you probably be blessed for it because we need to be reminded how to communicate better. Um, so great book, highly recommend it. Um, the only thing if he's writing this to students that would be taking classes in the college classroom, so it's not going to be heavily on Christian. The author is a Christian; he is a believer. But he's writing to a certain audience. So if he was ever to write a new edition that specifically is written to Christians, where he can bring the Bible verses to also support what he's saying, that would be the best version of this book. But for the audience he's written, this is perfect. The other great thing about this book is, let's say you have friends or family who are not Christians but need help in their marriage and they need some tools to help them because it's not heavy on Christianity, man, this is a great tool to give to them. And in fact, after they read the book, they say, "Oh, that's a great book that really helped us with communication." Then you can tell them, "Hey, by the way, do you know the author is a Christian?" And a lot of these principles we can find in the Bible. So you can actually use this as a bridge to talk about Christianity later on. Great book, highly recommend it. And I just want to say personally, I'm really thankful for Randy Fujishin. He was a great teacher when I was going to communications. He was an encourager. He is a wonderful, godly man. And I just pray that God would continue to bless his ministry. I was truly blessed by it. I probably would not be where I am if I hadn't interacted with him, as long with other people. But he was one of those guys who really inspired me to do more with my life. And I'm truly thankful for him. So, Randy, I just want to say thank you. And for the rest of you, pick up the book, read it. You'll be blessed. I'll put in the description below, I'll put a link to the Amazon account where you can order it online. Order it. Your marriage, your relationships will be blessed. God bless you, and and have a great day. If you like these videos, please like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. God bless you, and have a good day.